Welcome to Spirit School. I'm your mentor, Danielle Sarank, also known as the Squamish Medium. In this podcast, I share honestly all I have learned about the mediumship and spiritual development journey. My intention is to normalize these conversations, to make way for a more confident, clear, and connected wave of lightworkers, serving the world of spirit with an open and joyful soul. Welcome again to Spirit School. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spirit School. I'm very excited to be here with you for another episode. We will be getting into your November spirit messages very soon. Just a bit of a preemptive that I have been under the weather all week. I know I sound great right now, thanks to the miracle of Advil and Dayquil. But this week I caught a cold and I was out for a couple of days. So I'm even a couple days behind recording this in time for my podcast editor and my team. So just huge thank you to them for your patience with me while I get well enough to be able to record your spirit messages. So it might have a little bit of a different vibe, a little bit of a different feel this month, but I definitely wanted to get it out to you guys because I know you guys love them. And I just want to say a huge thank you to my listeners of Spirit School for the solidarity on the last episode I released, which was on the shadow side of this business, my business, spiritual business, whichever way we want to look at it. To tell you that I have received literally hundreds of messages in solidarity of what I mentioned on that topic. And kind of calling someone out who hurt my feelings and presents themselves in a very different way than they actually are. What I gather from the messages that I've been receiving and how many people have reached out saying that they also experienced the similar situation with the same podcaster and other people in the space, that holy did we ever need to bring to light some of these more shadowy topics, and couldn't be better perfect timing for Scorpio season. But I just wanted to say thank you because, I get a lot of compliments on sharing myself vulnerably and authentically or whatnot, and just how that lands for people. And I just kind of want to say too around that if that is something that you're drawn and attracted to, there is a bit of that in you as well. Like attracts like. And so there may be an aspect of you that is desiring to show up in a similar way, and just take my advice on this that you should, because how many people message me thanking me for showing up in that way? Oh my goodness, like more people must need to then, and hopefully some people are, but there's definitely a need out there for people to show up in that way. So just a little tip to you guys around that. And so thank you for all the love on that. My next episode that will be released, I'm very excited about, which is Spirit Fluent. She's my TikTok famous friend. She hates it when I say that, but she's someone who I've gotten to know through TikTok for quite a few years now, and I love her body of work. She is amazing, and I interviewed her actually just before I sat down to record this, and I know that you guys are going to love the interview. And she's actually agreed to come into the Spirit School Collective and teach a class on medical intuition in December, so I'm really excited for that as well. And in the membership in the Spirit School Collective in November, we have exciting things happening. We have 3 practice circles with me on Fridays. Sarah Rose, who I'm actually collaborating with on a certification program for trauma-informed lightworkers. I'm really excited to do this collaboration with her. She's going to be teaching a class on human design, so I'm excited for that too. And then I'm going to be doing a Q&A in the community on death doula work. So that's just kind of where we post a thread. You ask questions on death doula work, and I will go live for an hour or 2 answering your questions. The last Q&A was on business, and that's actually what spurred the whole last podcast episode. And that ended up being like a 2-hour Q&A. So replays for everything, opportunity to practice with partners. And then in the free Spirit School platform, we're actually going to be doing a week-long experience the week of November 21st called The Confident Lightworker. So that's going to be a 5-day free workshop series, no strings attached. I won't be pitching you anything at the end. It's just something I just love showing up and teaching, and I'm always looking for different ways to teach. And I just kind of want to give back to my incredible audience. So if you want to come into the free Spirit School space around that too, we're going to be doing that the week of November 21st. So I'm excited. Links to everything below. Hope to see you there. Big shout out to my collective members. Thank you guys for continuing to listen and continuing to trust me on your path of development. It's an honor to be your mentor. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So, as I was tuning into the energy of November, I was very confused about what came through first, and I was trying to think of a way to expand upon it. So, I'm just going to start speaking and, like every single month, just see what follows through after I start speaking. And the first thing that I heard when I was tuning into the energy of November was a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And I'm like, ooh, tell me a little bit more about a little bit more. And the immediate thing that follows that is we always think that we need to have this overwhelming, huge shift in life to change things for ourselves. And the teaching behind a little bit more is we actually don't. We just need a little bit more. And what comes through is a little bit more grace, a little bit more acceptance, a little bit more time to yourself, just a little bit more movement, just a little bit more peace. Just a little bit more socializing, just a little bit more. And I think that this is really important because, again, as humans, we tend to maybe over-dramatize or over-consume, and everything just seems to be an incredible excess. And they take me back to the teachings around the pandemic. And I remember saying this years ago now, where one of the things that lockdown in the pandemic would have shown us is how we are surrounded by so much stuff. And where we have seen through the teachings of our greater society how overconsumption and over excess is just the norm. When the bigger shifts that we really desire to make from the inside out actually just requires a little bit more, not a whole lot more. And Spirit really wants to relieve this sense of overwhelm off our shoulders and off our auras and gift us the teaching around maybe just striving for an extra inch instead of a mile. And understanding that we already have progressed quite drastically in the past few years. They bring through this energy around forgetting what we've been through. And, the thing that I can compare it to is almost like, why do we have a second child after the first? That whole experience of carrying a baby and delivering a baby in the fourth trimester that nobody really speaks about. It's because we forget. There's this mechanism built within us that we tend to forget important things that make a great impact on us. It's just part of our human condition. We can't hold everything. What Spirit really wants to remind us in the months of November is how far we've actually come and how extremes have been lessened over time. Things are not as extreme for many of us who will be listening to this, but we do get stuck in that pattern of believing that things need to be so drastic for things to shift. And so Spirit just wants you to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what can I do just a little bit more of this? Just a little bit more. And I get the sense that what I'm feeling will transpire for people who do this teaching is that they're going to realize how big those shifts are, even though they seem so small. And wow, I could have been doing this all along. But not to be sad about that and just start now. Where can I add a little bit more joy in my life at this moment? Where can I incorporate a little bit more rest? Where can I make a little bit more space? And not getting overwhelmed with those big strides. There's also this echoed message around having a little bit more compassion for ourselves. Now, I think it's no secret. I am classically hard on myself. I think if you listen to my podcast long enough, you'll see my human come through very clearly. And so this message is also for me. But there is this message around a little bit more self-compassion. There are people who will be tuning into these spirit messages who are being way too hard on themselves. Way too hard, seeing way too clearly the deficit. There are people who have stretched themselves and tried to get more clients, or stretched themselves and tried to maybe launch a business or reach that next phase of their practices. And all you see is failure. And Spirit is saying, whoa, 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 step back. Look at the progress that you have already made and ask for just a little bit more and give yourself a whole lot more self-compassion. To get to where you are at this very moment took great courage in the days, weeks, months, years that have happened before this very moment. So it's almost like this moment of pause hand on chest, taking a deep breath in. And just letting that sink with you for a moment. There has been so much that has happened before this moment that was massive shifts, massive changes, massive decisions that I've had to make that have taken amazing amounts of courage. And I'm not giving myself even an ounce of credit for any of that. So a big moment of pause here to just kind of celebrate everything that has unfolded up until this moment, reminding yourself of the divine timing of your life. And just because you desire it more in this moment doesn't mean it's going to come any quicker than it's meant to come. So how can we fill this time while we wait for what we desire to come to us? And here Spirit really brings through this visual of you sitting on this beautiful lotus pad in the middle of a body of water, whichever body of water doesn't freak you out. For me, they were showing me a pond at first. I'm like, oh my God, I would never go onto a pond. And that's just my own kind of spiritual humor coming through. But it's almost like this moment of gifting yourself a little bit of peace, a little bit of stillness, a little bit of soaking in the moment of what is at this current time and feeling a sense of contentment. Because I get the sense none of you will have to fake this. It's like I want to sit in the contentment of my life at this very moment. The fact that I can acknowledge the privileges that exist around me at this very moment, even though we know very clearly that there's always a dichotomy at play. There's always sorrow and joy at every single moment. And our awareness just shifts between them as we move through this human experience. And Spirit is asking you to shift your awareness into the contentment of this moment of time. And if you need a visual aid to support you, a moonlit pond or body of water, and you just floating on a little lotus flower on a beautiful little green pad, away from all the energy that is required of you day to day from the family, from the colleagues, from the responsibilities of your life, and just severing your ties to them for just a moment to just sink into the presence of the now and sink into the celebration of what is at this very moment. At this very moment, I am safe. And it's almost like everything that's coming through me right now kind of wants to take us back to our presence, because even as I'm talking about that, I can get the sense of how forward thinking a lot of us are, how past focused a lot of us are, and all of us will be different in those regards. But Spirit really wanting us to still time, to forget the whole notion of time at this very moment and just be with contentment. They also make me feel like a lot of people are expecting and anticipating messages to come through around shadow work and going deeper into the healing. And they bring through this message of you actually don't have to go searching for very much during this time. And what comes up and what comes through is exactly what needs to be dealt with at this time. There's this treasure hunt people are on right now, treasure hunt for the next level, treasure hunt for the next thing to work on, treasure hunt for that next break. There's a lot of seeking and searching. And I think that there's a time and place for that seeking and searching, but it's just not now. It's just not now. The world is so crazy this month, and I have to say that I don't get a sense on exactly what's happening, but it almost feels like what will come up in November is like overwhelming. But yet I feel peaceful inside of me as I say that. It's almost like the way that they're showing it to me. I have my eyes closed right now, which is why I don't film myself anymore doing these. It's not very engaging, but I see myself being aware of like 10 different things happening at once, all over the world happening at once. And even now we can definitely pinpoint that that is very much the case, but there's something different in the energy of November around this. It's almost like the intensity increases, but then our peace increases as well, which is kind of a funny thing to even speak about. And I've been speaking about this a lot on the other podcast around the shadow side of our businesses, which is where it's like there's always this dichotomy at play. So yes, the shittery of the world will be increasing and intensifying through the month of November, but with it is the opportunity to intensify the inner peace that is accessible to us at all moments. It's just a conscious choice that has to be made. I also see the world getting a lot brighter. I will say that as I'm tuning into this, thread of consciousness that's kind of coming through me, is it's almost like we're being lifted up and things are getting a lot brighter. So I feel like tuning into that, I'm just going to go out on a limb here And because I'm not feeling very well, I don't feel like I'm channeling like as much as I typically do in past months. So just bear with me. I'm human after all. But I get this sensation that we're also being lifted up and becoming a lot brighter. So it's almost like we're being asked to play within this dichotomy of like the intensity that's coming up around us in November and how much peace can we create for ourselves in this moment. You will be challenged with that this month, and there will be opportunities that come to you this month that will almost like reinvent new practices. Now, on the other side of this, there are people who are naturally avoidant of being in tune with what's happening in the world. And for you, things will be very different. For you, it's almost like living in that contentment, which can be a little bit bypassy sometimes, but understandably so. You're very, very sensitive, and that's okay. We need you too. But there is an invitation coming through in November that you may be asked to step up with more courage this month. You may ask to be a little bit more vocal and carry some of the weight of the people who are so activated all the time. It's like this really beautiful and harmonious exchange that is happening. So I know that so many of you will feel this. And I feel like some of you who have never spoken up about world events will start speaking up about it a little bit more. And for you, it's going to feel like so livening and almost like badass. And it's funny because the way that they show it to me is actually like, it's quite cute because other people are like, well, that's so tame. But for you, it's like, this is big stuff. Like, this is not stuff that I tend to talk about. And it is, it's a big deal. But I want you to know that you are so in tune with your sensitivities and the needs of other humans that you will never come across as, harmful in any way. And I have a couple people in my mind. Reach out to me if you think you're one of these people, because I definitely see a few of you in my mind who are my students coming up with this. So it's almost like the really active people who don't know how to slow down are going to be like literally invited to create a new practice of that stillness within the chaos. And the people who choose to be still in that operation mode most of the time are going to be asked to pick up some of that extra weight and really step forward in a new light and find almost like a passion for speaking up about such things. So there's a lot of shifts happening in November, which will actually bring about a lot more clarity for the new year to come. I really don't resonate with January as a new year. I can't say that enough. And I think so many of us feel like that. There's different cultures that celebrate, New Year's in April, and our astrology New Year's is in April. So it almost feels like pretentious to me to like talk about like the new year being in January, because it's just such an odd time to have a new year. I think at a cellular level, a lot of us feel that. But I do get the sense that there's a lot of people inquiring right now, okay, 2022, what the fuck? And then 2023, what is the potential that could happen? And so a lot of your minds are starting to think towards that now. And there is a lot of clarity that's going to be coming through embodying some of these almost dichotomy-like practices that feel very out of natural flow of what we tend to lean into for practices. We're going to be asked to really shake things up and shift things out quite a bit. I also see a lot of people being very curious about other modalities and other ways of being. So to give you a bit of a more tangible example, like maybe a medium is looking more at psychic work, or maybe a psychic is looking more at medical intuitive work. It's almost like what is possible is expanding beyond right now. And there is like this invitation to follow these curiosities and to become more multifaceted in how you show up in the world. Now, there is this nagging undercurrent, which I feel is voices of the past and structures of the past kind of coming up saying, no, pick your niche. No, pick your thing, what you want to be known for, and stay with it till the day you die. It's almost like this boomer hangover. And I did a reading recently where this similar message kind of came up. So I'm curious who that was with. But it's almost like really showing up and rising above the voices of the past and creating the new voices moving forward. Like, it's okay to be passionate about 3 or 4 different things. It doesn't mean that I'm not committed. It doesn't mean that I'm stretching myself too thin, or that I'm not going to be known for like one specific thing. Spirit is really asking us to take on a lot of different roles in the work for the spirit world. So full permission slip to follow different curiosities and not have them mean that you have a trouble with commitment or have it mean that you just don't know who you are yet. I think those of us who are drawn to the spiritual path, and that's pretty much every spirit school listener out there, will know that there will likely never be a time in our spiritual path where we'll feel that completion. I don't think completion is a feeling that is, synonymous with the spiritual path. I think that there's always going to be a changeability. I think that there's always going to be more curiosities to follow and more healing to unearth. So in that way too, it's like not waiting for things to be healed before we move forward with like the next thing that we hope to be able to serve in. Spirit's bringing through this thing that I said in the previous podcast where I said, I'm healing on the go. And they want me to really reiterate that as part of these spirit messages, that it's okay for you to also heal on the go. So there's going to be a lot coming up around that as well. Okay. Yeah, these spirit messages are going to be what they are. And I'm going to kick it a little bit old school today because I don't think I'm going to be able to surrender into a true channeling state just because I'm just not feeling that well. So I'm going to kick it a little bit old school and just like pull a few cards from my trusty deck, the Psychic Tarot by John Holland. And we're going to just pull a few cards for the remainder of the session here. So the first card, which is one of my favorite cards in this deck, is the Hope card. I mean, who couldn't use a little bit of hope right now? But what I'm really drawn to with this card is that there is like this humanoid, I guess you could say, being in the middle of this beautiful sun ray lit light. And this is very resemblant of what I was talking about, even though things might intensify in the world and things might look a little bit worse for wear than maybe even the months past. And I'm curious about what's going to happen because I feel like I'm very aware of everything that's happening around the world right now. But it's like this vision of us being filled with light and lifted up and beyond. And so, if we can tie back that visual of what's coming through this card is like, just because things are looking a little bit worse for wear in the collective, like around the world, that doesn't mean that hope is gone. And that doesn't mean that we should relinquish hope of what we desire the world to be moving forward. And so Spirit really wants to bring through this message of hope. And if you need to feel that hope, to just like visualize filling your body with light and connecting it with that source within, like literally filling the body with light from the inside out, to really tune into that hope. The other thing too that Spirit really wants to bring forward with this is the spiritual strength card. It's almost like we don't really grow and expand and like really get to those next levels until we reach some sort of level of discomfort. And if nothing else, the 2020s, 2020, 2021, 2022 have been rocky AF and not very consistent and not easy. And again, there have been joyous moments and there have been some of probably the best moments of your life amongst all the craziness of the world. And Spirit wants to remind us that what we get after being able to thrive through such a crazy turmoil time is deep spiritual strength that may not be revealed to us for a year now. I don't know why I'm seeing September, but I have to say that what I feel around this is it's like you're not going to understand right now or even in the month of November the spiritual resolve and the spiritual strength that you have flexed through choosing to show up and thrive during these times. And that is really the payoff. We often wonder like, why does this happen? And why does this happen? And how could this happen, et cetera, et cetera. And it is really around because we chose to come here to gain spiritual strength. And that is exactly what we're being asked to do during this time. And that is actually going to be the big reward. So it's almost like for those that are really listening into this message, like that's almost a full year. That's 10 months away. But I see it like meditation being deeper, channeling being clearer, decision-making being quicker. There's just so much spiritual strength that is being created during this time. And the big reward and payoff around thriving during this time. There's so many memes popping into my head right now. I just can't stop laughing. Like these memes around our spirit guides just kind of smiling behind us while we're like shaking in our boots, like having a cigarette because we're so like tired of living through one world event after another. Spirit is reminding us that we chose to come here during this time to experience these different things for spiritual strength. And that is exactly what we will receive, because that was our intention behind being here during these times as well as to relay that message of hope and be that beacon of hope, as well as to be role models for our families and the little ones that are watching, whether they're our little ones or other little ones. They are watching, and they are literally watching how we navigate some of these most unpredictable times of our generation, at least as well. And so what's the reward? Why? Spiritual strength is why. And you might not know the value of spiritual strength until a year from now, when you truly experience and can look back the 10 months before on everything that has transpired between now and then, and how different things are, and how you wouldn't have traded any of that time for anything else in the world, because this is what it got you. Okay. So funny enough, they're bringing through that analogy around having a baby and how we forget. And I want you to know too that the final message that comes through for the month of November is how honored you are by the spirit loved ones at home. And the way that they show me this is actually like, again, it's always through memes. If you could live in my head rent free, it's almost comical. There's this Golden Girls meme that I saw where it's like, there's like a cutout in heaven with Blanche looking down from the heavens on the other Golden Girls, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm seeing this as a literal meme, but it's like our loved ones, it's our ancestors, it's even past versions of ourselves that are like literally looking and peeping through this like hole in the sky. And they are so curious about these times. They are so in awe that we chose to come here during these times. And they are so excited to see what unfolds. And this also reiterates how much divine free will we have at play at this current time. So there's nothing set in stone. There are some things that are unavoidable. They are completely divinely planned. But what this world looks like a year from now is still based on every single choice that we all choose to make at every single moment. And that's how come they're watching us with such curiosity. What are they going to pick? How are they going to choose to show up? Are they going to zig or are they going to zag? And they're just watching in awe of us who have chosen to come here during this time. So make no mistake, you are meant to be here. And if you needed that validation at this very moment, you're meant to be here at this very time, at this very place. This is your validation around that. So this is what I feel. I have to say, like, just because I'm feeling so under the weather, I think I'm going to bring this to a close. But I just want to say that I feel very interesting about November. It's like, in my brain, I know it's going to be a shit show, but in my heart, I couldn't feel more peace about it. I couldn't feel more certain that everything's going to be okay. I've never felt that before. I've never felt this such extreme experience where it's like in my heart, I know it's all good. And I know we're all going to be okay. But then I just see outside of this bubble, just a lot of craziness. So take with that what you will. If you ever catch yourself getting overwhelmed with the world and all the things that are going to be coming up this month, ask yourself, where can I incorporate just a little bit more peace in my heart right now? Where can I give myself a little bit more compassion? Can I let go of this? Can I not know this right now? And then trust that the people who have maybe been avoiding world events, they're the ones who will be stepping up a little bit more and carrying a little bit more of that weight. And again, I can't talk about this collaboration, this beautiful exchange enough. It feels very peaceful and it feels like everyone's okay with it. So I'd be interested to know what comes up for you as you listen to these messages. I want you to know I'll see you on the other side. I don't know why I feel like saying that. I literally cannot take a breath without coughing right now. So I'm going to end this, but I know we're all going to make it on the other side. And I know we're going to have some awesome stories to share by the time we come into December spirit messages, which I already feel are going to be a lot lighter than this one. So I'm going to leave you with this today, my spirit schoolers. I thank you for listening. I hope you don't mind a little bit of a different flavor, a little bit of a different vibe for this month's spirit messages. I mean, I could very well just say, I'm not going to do them this month, but just like my meme Mondays, which I've only missed 2 meme Mondays in the past 3 years, the show must go on. I love doing this work. I love showing up for you guys. So hopefully you'll get at least just a little bit of messages through this that resonate and sit with your heart. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Spirit School. We'll see you next time. Did you know that Spirit School is not just a podcast? It's an actual school. If you go to myspiritschool.com, you can invest in self-study courses, live programs, and of course the Spirit School Collective, my baby, my monthly membership community. All Spirit School offerings are intended to get you feeling clear, confident, and connected to your spiritual path, your development journey, and of course, connected to other spiritual curious souls who are having similar experiences to you. I hope to see you in Spirit School.